Today we are talking the top 5 things that I wish I knew sooner. I've been doing this for nearly a decade, and there's a lot of things that I learned the hard way. So we're going to jump into it. I'm going to tell you what they were so that you can skip out on those learning steps and jump right to the success. Check it out. Okay, the first thing that I would say, getting into the YouTube thing that I'm doing now, it would be so much better if I had started earlier. And I realized that much earlier in my career, I wasn't as good at woodworking. I mean, if you look at me, the stuff that I built 8 years ago versus what I'm building now, night and day difference, right? But if that's something you're gonna do, go ahead and start it. People want to see you kind of go through those stages, right? Learning how to do something a little bit better, making better cuts, better joinery, all those things. And what I've learned, having listened to a whole bunch of successful YouTubers, going through this journey myself, is it takes time. So the sooner you start it, the sooner you're going to get to the success part, right? The whole idea of going viral is just not practical, right? You're not practically going to just make this cool video and all of a sudden have a million views and 100,000 subscribers. Very, very few people do that. There are a couple, and great for those guys. We can all cross our fingers, hope that we make that one video. But more than likely, it's going to be a slow, steady growth. And so start it earlier. The earlier you start it, the sooner you get to the point where you're actually making money on it, right? So that'd be number one. Have a social media presence. Social media is today's advertising. If you're going to advertise, social media is where everybody's at. You want to be where the customers are. Instagram is big. Facebook is probably the number one spot still that I get people reaching out. And most people say, well, nobody's really on Facebook. In this industry, for what we're doing, we're building fairly expensive, high-end type of products. They're going to cater more to the people that are upper middle class, but also upper middle age, right? Because they've got the disposable income. They've got the houses to put it in. They are kind of more settled down. Younger people that are all over TikTok and Instagram, for this industry, they're more likely to live in a smaller space. They're more likely to be a little bit more willing to move around. Maybe they don't have a family yet. They're not going to settle in and want to invest money in their property. So you want to make sure that you're putting your stuff where the people that have the money and are going to be your potential customers are. And for me, that's Facebook. I have a decent small following on Facebook, but where I really excel is in those neighborhood groups. This is still very much a word of mouth industry. You're going to get more referrals from your customers. That's going to drive most of your business versus paid advertising. Is paid advertising good? Yes, you should do it. If you need the business, spend the money on the paid advertising. But what I've found is people are constantly asking in those neighborhood Facebook groups, hey, I want to get this done. Who did everybody use? And then the comments start flowing in. You want to be one of those people in those comments. And that's how the majority of my business comes, is through those Facebook, word of mouth. I'll get, a Facebook message, sometimes an email, but typically that's where it's coming from. And it's all the good word of mouth. So make sure that you have a presence there, because first thing you're going to do is go to your page. When they get to your page, they're going to look at all your pictures. You want some good pictures of everything you've got, a wide range of things. I'm obviously doing a whole bunch of content now as far as teaching people how to make stuff, but I don't post all that on Facebook. I do that on Instagram and TikTok, and obviously here on YouTube. My Facebook tends to be more of like a gallery. It also leads to the website. Building up your website is very important. I've done an upgrade probably every 6 months on my website, trying to keep new pictures up there, trying to keep new content coming in. When I do these videos, I add them to the website in more of a build recap and kind of explain how I do things. So the main thing, make sure that you are documenting it, put it on the social media. My thought is I'm going to put it on all of them, right? I have potential customers everywhere. Most of them come through Facebook, but I had some people send me, stuff from TikTok. I've had some people send me stuff from Instagram. You know, most of the time, you want to be where your customers are, and your customers are on social media. So put your stuff out there. Okay, so the second thing that you need to make sure that you learn early is the pricing. Pricing out projects can be one of the most difficult things, especially when you're getting started. You don't know how much to charge. Sometimes you don't charge enough. Other times you price yourself out of a job. I just did an entire breakdown on how you should price your projects to make sure you account for everything you need to know. I'll leave a link to that video down in the description below. Go check it out. It's pretty in depth, but it's really helpful, and I'm finding that I'm having success with that moving forward, not as worried from job to job as far as whether the money's going to be in the account to run that payroll. To give you kind of the, Cliff Notes version, make sure you price in not just materials, not just your labor, but you need to account for your fixed costs. If you have a shop, you're paying rent there, you're paying electric, you have to pay taxes. There's a whole bunch of fixed costs that you need to account for. And then you also need to make sure that you're adding profit in. If you don't have profit, you don't make money. So you need to make sure you put profit in. What your profit is, that's up to you. Some people 10, 20%. I've heard people talk 50%. You do what you know is right for you, but the profit is there to help you make sure that you are always taken care of. If you get sick, you'll have money to run payroll. If you need to buy new tools, you'll have money to buy those tools. If you don't add profit, growing becomes incredibly difficult. So that is one of the biggest things, is pricing out your projects. Learn that early and you'll be set up for success moving forward. Third thing, and I was probably one of the worst at this when I first started. What you need to do is figure out how long a job's going to take. Now, to be honest, there's still times where I underestimate. And that's probably one of the biggest problems, is underestimating how long that job's going to take. In my mind, when I put a project together, I go through all the parts in my mind. Okay, I got to do this many cabinets. I got to do doors. I need to sand. I need to paint. I need to make sure that, all the hardware is put in and the doors fit just right. There's a lot that goes into each project. Sometimes I kind of get ahead of myself. I price it. Account for 2 weeks for a job. It takes me 2.5, maybe 3. That becomes an issue, because then what you told your other customer, you then get backed up, right? So give yourself that wiggle room. I'm gotten better at it. Still not perfect, but I'm better, right? So when you're doing your calendar, figure out how long you think it's going to take and add a little bit on top of it. This happens all the time in the construction industry in general. If you've ever dealt with somebody building a house or doing a major renovation, things get backed up. So don't feel like it's the end of the world if you're a little bit behind. But try to account for it, because starting that next project, you want to be on time. I work by myself. I can only do one project at a time. At most, I'll overlap a day or two where I've picked up a deposit and then I'm trying to buy materials while also wrapping up another project. but I try to keep it at one project at a time. But you got to make sure you are accounting for everything. So be upfront with your customer. Let them know, hey, this is the planned date. It may be, a week later. It may be 2 weeks later, but this is what we're going for. And then go off of that. That's all you can really do is try to give yourself that wiggle room. So account for your calendar. Understand it's going to take a little longer than you probably think. Number four, you got to buy the right tools. I've bought a lot of tools, thousands and thousands of dollars worth of tools, but I probably didn't always buy the right ones. In fact, I know I did. Now, there is a difference between buying what you can afford until you can buy what you need. You need to make sure that you're not going into debt just to start your entire business, right? Try to cash flow your tools. Let the job pay for the tool. If you have a job that requires a certain type of tool, let that job pay for it, right? That's where that profit comes in. But try not to, if you think you're going to do it over and over again, try not to buy the cheap version of that. I've done that before. And sometimes you're working with Ryobi tools, and that's fine. They're cheap. They have a battery that runs off of everything. It's okay to buy Ryobi, but understand that they're probably not always going to be the best ones. In fact, I can tell you that their palm router, at least a few years ago when I bought it, was terrible. There's other tools that I've used for a long time and have no problem with it. So there's going to be a little bit of trial and error. Do your research. Listen to other people that have tried certain types of tools, had success with them, or haven't had success with them. But buy the best one that you can at the time, right? I have a bunch of clamps. I never have enough clamps. In case you didn't know, you can never have enough clamps. But you need to make sure that you're getting ones that are going to work, right? I've got parallel clamps, I've got F clamps, I've got squeeze clamps, all sorts. I could probably use a couple more of those parallel clamps. I like those the best. I do a lot of cabinet doors, a lot of things that require glue ups that need to be solidly clamped without, you know, bending too much, right? Parallel clamps are great for that. But they're expensive. They're about $40, $50 a piece, and you have to really buy them in packs of two, right? Because you need to clamp things together. So understanding where you want to spend your money on the tools, what tool are you going to get the most out of, and if you know you're going to use it all the time, spend that money, right? Like I've been able to run my entire business, a cabinetry based business, off of a job site DeWalt table saw. And it works, right? Now, would I like to have a cabinet saw or an even bigger, nice, solid table saw? Yeah, a sliding table saw? Give it to me, right? I'll take it. But those things are thousands and thousands of dollars. I don't feel like going into a whole bunch of debt on that when I can get by with this. If I was doing mass production cabinets or, doing kitchens all the time, I'd probably go ahead and spend the money. Just haven't felt the need, right? I did spend the money on a CNC machine, and that's actually pretty helpful. I've got an entire project right now that can only be done with a CNC machine. And so my CNC machine is getting its work in. The thing is starting to pay for itself, right? So understand what's going to work, how much is it going to work, and if it's worth it, go get the good one. If you know that you're only going to use this tool for a single job or something like that, you have one of those weird things that you just need it. If you can't rent it, which Home Depot rents tools, so if you have the opportunity, rent it. If you don't have the ability to rent it, go ahead and get the cheap one, get that job done, and then store it somewhere that you can pull it out when you need it. But spend the money on the right tools when you can. The last thing is something that I'm just getting going myself, and that's really networking. Now, I have a decent word of mouth kind of system that's been going very well. I've done probably 20 houses in this one neighborhood. People recommend me. You know, my business has done very well in the sense that I've never taken a day off that I didn't intend to take off. So I can't complain as far as getting the jobs. But if you want to be able to charge more, you need to be in demand more. If you want to be in demand more, you need to have your name out there. You can pay for advertising. You can be on social media and all those things, and that's great. You should. But the number one way people get, leads when it comes to this industry is typically word of mouth. What's the best way to get the word of mouth out there? Go network. Be out there with people, other people in your industry. I can't tell you how many times I'm at a job, quoting a guy or, you know, going over the project that we're about to start or wrapping up a project, especially when I'm wrapping up. They say, hey, great job. Really enjoyed it. Do you do any of this? Plumbing? Do you know a good painter for a house painter? Do you know an electrician that'll do this, that'll do that? I don't have a lot of those contacts. That's where the number 5 thing is: network. Go out there where the other professionals are, right? Go have a friend that's a painter, have a friend that's an electrician, have a friend that's a plumber. Because guess what? I'm sure they're getting the questions too. Hey, do you know a woodworker that can do this? Do you know somebody that can trim out all this area? That's what you need to make sure that you're taking care of. If you are networking with other people in your industry that have influence, get to know builders, get to know other people that have complementary professions so that when they get asked the question, they'll recommend you. That's what you want. Networking events happen all the time, and typically they're fairly cheap. I'm going to one in about a couple weeks. It's only like 25 bucks. So understand that being out there, usually they're in the afternoons, late afternoons, early evenings. You should be able to get to them. Sometimes you got to plan around it. I do have a friend that has a lunch networking event that I go to every once in a while. But it's just good to have other people that will sing your praises, that will give you a recommendation and get more leads for you. And then obviously you return the favor. You give leads back to them whenever, people ask, hey, do you know anybody that does this? You know what? I do. And his name is blah, blah, blah. He does great work. That's what you want. That's what networking is all about. What I'm finding and I'm kind of digging into, my plan is to go to this big conference in late February up in Georgia for a bunch of woodworkers that do YouTube in particularly. That's the plan, is to network, get to know people. Hey, check out this guy's channel. Hey, check out this guy's stuff. He does great work. That's what you want. Networking is another form of advertising, another form of lead generation. That's going to help business wise. And in the end, we love woodworking. We like to build cool stuff, but it's more fun to do it and then get paid for it, right? You are in business. Don't forget to get paid. Okay? There's a lot that can be done when you know the right people, right? That's what they say all the time. It's all about who you know, not what you know. Well, it helps to know a bunch of stuff, but it also helps to know a lot of people. So make sure you go out there and network. Make new friends, right? This can be done online or in person, but it's better to do it in person. Find those networking events, go out there, shake some hands, tell them about your business, tell them what you do, and have a good time. I hope this helped. 5 things that can help you become a better woodworker and have a better, more successful woodworking business without having to make all the mistakes. I told you there'd be a bonus. Here's the bonus. Don't waste your time on Etsy. I've done that. It is saturated beyond all belief. If you're making the same stuff that everybody else is making, guess what? Your thing comes all the way down, right? Build your own website. Use something simple like Shopify, and then go build the online presence, right? Have people find you there, send them to your own site. That's going to make things a lot easier for you. Okay. I've been on Etsy. I've tried to do different things on Etsy. And there's just so many people doing the same type of stuff. Who knows how many of them are even, getting paid any type of real wage, because you'll go on there and people have these crazy, cool looking cutting boards or signs, and they're selling them for dirt cheap. You don't want to compete with that. There's no way that you're going to do a cutting board that's got all this, super nice walnut and maple, and you did this great design. It required multiple glue ups and planing and sanding and finish. You spend all that hard time and you want to charge what you think it's worth, and it probably is worth $90, right? If you did a nice big walnut cutting board, all that stuff, you got a guy that's doing something similar to that and selling it for 30. You can't compete with that, because guess what? People on Etsy, they want it to look nice and they want the cheapest price. So I wouldn't waste my time there. I have wasted my time there. I wouldn't do it again, right? So that's another thing that I wish I knew sooner, is don't waste the time. Etsy is a mess, right? Especially for woodworkers that are really trying to do cool stuff. There are some people that are very successful on it, and hat tip to those guys. They're doing a great job. Trying to start there, man, I mean, unless you have a bunch of money to spend to get your listing near the top, I don't think it's worth it. So that's my little bonus tip. Don't go to Etsy, right? Build it on your own. Start local. Get your, social media presence moving. Generate a following. And eventually, it's going to take time, but eventually everything will come and you guys will be in good shape. Thanks for watching Crafted in Florida. Hit that subscribe button. Go check out the website, craftedinflorida.com. You'll see a whole bunch of stuff there. If you want to buy a custom carved piece, I've got stuff on there. If you have a design that you want me to do, put it on there. You want me to build something cool, drop it down below. I'll get to it as soon as I can. I got a couple of cool builds coming up, including a custom bar and a custom epoxy dining table, probably closer to the end of the year. Thanks for watching Crafted in Florida.